here with another exciting live stream. This is just a quick check-in. I noticed I haven't done a video in a little bit, and I want to tell you all what I've been up to. Mainly finance, to be honest. When it comes to my courses that I'm currently taking, finance is the only one where I'm really having trouble. I thought business statistics was getting me, but then when we took the recent business statistics test, my grade is now up to like a 78, so I'm almost at a B. So I'm not saying that business statistics is like the easiest thing in the world or anything, but I realize that I understand more of it than I thought I did, which is a good thing. Yo, Serena, good to see you. Serena asked, "Hi Nick, what you doing today?" Well, for the most part today, I have finance homework that's due tomorrow, so I'll be working on the finance homework. Then I have a date with this girl, Savannah. Me and Savannah will be hanging out today around 2 at the Charger Union. And then after my class, I have a date with Maddie, which will be around 6. The Maddie I'm referring to is not the Maddie who used to be on streams. It is a different Maddie entirely. But that's what I'm going to be doing today for the most part. What are you up to today, Serena? Also, don't forget to smash that like button. Truly appreciate it. It shows that you're enjoying the content so far and that you'd like to see more. But yeah. Mainly just doing those things. My class, oh, thank you for smashing that like button. When it comes to class, I have sports economics today, which should be fine. I never really have any trouble with sports economics. It seems really easy to follow, which is weird because finance and business statistics are also just business classes with math, but sports economics seems to be the most consistent, where you can easily follow the concepts. Where with finance, after each test, it kind of like changes into a whole new topic, and I thought that'd be helpful because I didn't do well on the first test, but now we're getting closer to the second test, and because it doesn't stack up, I just don't feel like I'm good with it. Serena says that she's going to be at home today for the most part. Dozer's working on his game today. He's getting pretty far in his development. I'm really excited to try out Dozer's game. Has he added additional elements to the story and everything like that? I just know that it takes place in the future, for the most part. And also, how have you and Dozer been? We haven't hung out in a minute, which is in large part due to the fact that this last Saturday, I think Dozer had to work, and I tried to use that day as a homework day, and then I didn't do homework, which is sad. I'm trying to avoid doing the same thing today, actually, because I know I have the finance work to do. So I'm going to have my finance book in my book bag with me, and whenever I get some downtime, work on it. It's due tomorrow, so I still have some time. Serena says he hasn't decided anything else about the story. She says Dozer and I are good. That's good to hear, Serena. I'm glad. Let's see. So, for things going on later on this week, so YouTube Club is no longer a thing because of the fact that attendance was so low. YouTube Club had like 20-something members, but only like 4 of them would ever meet for club meetings. So that means we no longer have like the special room that we can use at the CU for like playing fighting games. It means we no longer meet every Friday around 4. So my Friday schedule is a little more loose than it used to be, because instead of always having like a set up commitment on Fridays, it's now like, I go anyway on Fridays. So when it comes to hanging out with the guys, it's been a little bit different. It's been more just on a whim on that day, rather than we meet up at a certain time and then we hang out. I'm going to do taxes Friday, which makes it seem like I'm probably going to hang out with Colin and the guys Saturday. I have a lab that I have to do for network defense, so I'm going to have to work on that at some point. But that's not due for like a couple weeks, so that's kind of on the back burner. I have to work on my security clearance forms. They're due at the end of March, so I still have some time on that. But the faster I get it done, the more likely I will get it done. So I need to definitely push down the gas on that, make sure that I'm ready for action. New comic books tomorrow, because today's Tuesday. So on Wednesday, some new comics are coming out. I'm going to do a video that talks about what comics you should read before these new comics come out, so that you'll be prepared. And I'll also in that video include links down below in the description if you want to read the comics online, or if you would rather read them in their physical copies. I'll make sure to name the name and issue so that you can go pick them up at your local comic book store and support the official release. But anyways, that has been the biggest part of how I've been recently. Serena said, I've come to a new understanding of time travel from watching Dragon Ball Z. Time travel in Dragon Ball is really weird. Yeah. I mean, I think the coolest interpretation of time travel we have in Dragon Ball is probably Dragon Ball Xenoverse, which isn't even canon, but I feel like in Dragon Ball Xenoverse, you can travel to the same time period multiple times, and you can, like, have already gone back and fixed it before, but you can go back and fix it again. Like, it makes it seem like there are a lot more parallel time things going on. Where in Dragon Ball Z, that's still the case, but it's just awkward. I'm hoping that in Dragon Ball Super, or I guess the future of Dragon Ball Super, we'll get to see more time travel shenanigans. Speaking of which, I do want to do a video talking about Dragon Ball Super. We got a lot of spoilers, and we have a new announcement that's pretty big. So I'll do a Dragon Ball Super video, I guess after this one. So after this video, I'll do the Dragon Ball Super video, I'll do the comic book video, if I have enough time. Serena said, I used to see it in more of a Project Almanac type of way, meaning it would end in a paradox, which I don't like the idea that you alter the same timeline. It doesn't make sense. I like the idea that you create alternate timelines. So the time travel concept that I really enjoy is the one where if you've traveled back in time, whatever you did when you traveled back is like why things happen the way they originally did. So let's say you go back in time and you try to like stop 9/11. Like you want to prevent 9/11 from happening through time travel. The way that I see it is that you always were back in time. So even when 9/11 originally happened, you were there back in time trying to stop it. But you failed, which is why 9/11 happened. So essentially, anything you try to do by traveling back in time that didn't happen originally is prone to fail because you already went back in time. I'm not sure if I explained that well. It's kind of like if you dropped your sandwich on the ground. So you go back in time to try and stop yourself from dropping the sandwich, but you still end up dropping the sandwich. Serena said, I see that as ending in a time loop, though. You're right, for the most part, because it seems like no matter what, you'll always be, like, prone to go back. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I guess it depends on what happens when you make it back to our time, right? No, it's still a time loop regardless. Well, I don't know. Okay, here's a thought experiment on that. So, my argument against it being a time loop. You go back in time to try and stop yourself from dropping the sandwich. You drop the sandwich anyways because that's what you did in the original timeline. But then, let's say you don't have a way to travel back to your future. So you live out your life while your other self lives out their lives. Good to see you, Nerd Tanker. And what you end up doing is when your past self goes through time, the version of you that lived from 9/11 to the present is just there. And they can continue along their lives from that point, but time travel, you went back. Like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like you're trapped, is my thing. In a time loop, you're normally stuck doing the same thing over and over again, but because it creates, like, two of you, by you traveling back in time, then you don't have to worry about it. Serena said, yeah, isn't that what makes it a separate timeline, though? I would argue that it's still not a separate timeline. You go back in your own timeline. You can't really change anything that happened because you're not changing it because your future self that went back was always there. And the reason why you never saw your future self is because if you never saw your future self the first time around, like before you went in the time machine, that implies that when you went back, you never ran into your other self in a way where you would see each other. It's almost like the reason why you can't change anything by going back in time is because even in like the timeline you were in, well, the timeline you're in the whole time, you had already been back. Nerd Tanker said, Jet, in all caps. Serena said, but if your future self was always there, that would create a paradox. Well, my argument is that your future self was always there, even before you went back in time, due to how time travel works. So, paradoxes really end up happening. Hey, Nerd Tanker, good to see you. Paradoxes end up happening because when you time travel back, you'll change something in the timeline, and because you change something in the timeline, it like fucks up the timeline. But in this form of time travel, there'd be no way for you to fuck up the timeline, because anything you did when you travel back in time already happened before you travel back in time. Like, essentially, if you were walking around in the park and you looked in the bushes and you saw your future self hiding in the bushes, then that happens because you like went back in time and you hid in the bushes. But you haven't gone back in time yet. Like, that's the idea. So everything that happens in the timeline happens the same because the timeline's already been altered by time travelers. So time travelers can't create paradoxes because of the fact that they're in a timeline they already did. Nerd Tanker said with time travel, you can't see yourself or touch yourself or do anything to change yourself. That's an interesting theory about time travel, but it seems a little selfish. Like, it seems like, why would reality itself prevent you from just interacting with yourself, but allow you to interact with everything else? It seems like the laws of reality are too specific for it to, like, restrain against you. Another form of time travel that I like is the concept that, Serena said to me, that's what makes separate timelines, though, Nick. I don't know, because in mine there's no split, is the thing. Like, when you go back, you just keep going forward down the same line. Like, the line never changes. I feel like when you make separate timelines, you going back in time just sends you to another line. But in this one, you're just going from here on the line to here on the line, and then you just keep going forward, and then the other you goes back in time. But then you can still move forward on the line. And the thing that prevents paradoxes is mainly just because the events of time travel, like, already occurred, like, you already going back in time is what made the timeline the way it is in the first place. So you really don't change anything. Serena said, I don't know how to explain it blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I got tongue-tied. I don't know how to explain it the way David made it make sense. We'll talk about it again with him. Well, okay, sounds like a plan. So let's see. That's what I've been up to for the most part recently. Everything with, like, studying and getting ready for school and classes and things like that. But don't worry, I have a Dragon Ball Super video around the corner, so stay tuned for that. And I also have a comic book based video, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like this video, favorite, comment, subscribe, and ding ding ding, ring that bell to be notified whenever we do these live streams. This is your host, your friend, your boy, Jack Black, the one and only, here with Serena, Nerd Tanker, and whoever else is watching, logging out. Peace.